ahead.
Hot What Low, welcome. Hope everybody had a nice drive and thank you for being here. I'm very excited to see so many people here. We were worried that we really wanted the community to be part of our community meeting, so it's good to see so many faces in the audience. I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to the city.
Hi, yeah, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Caitlin Castellano. I'm the Deputy Director of Development Services, and I have been helping with the Wiyot housing projects. We're super happy to have you here. Oh, good, we've got Zoom started, and the Wiyot team is going to provide a presentation for you, and then we'll do some Q&A at the end. Thank you.
Yes. Is there a way to see the slides? Yes, it'd be great if we could see it behind me. I don't just look at myself here. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Well, yeah, thank you so much for being here today. We really appreciate the opportunity to come and speak in front of you about the two projects we're working on with the Wiyot tribe. And thank you for all of you that are joining virtually. It means a lot for us to be able to be here and solicit feedback and kind of present on where we are to date. So to kick it off, I would like to throw it to Michelle, Vassal Tribal Administrator here at the Wiyot Tribe, and talk through just your background a little bit, and then the purpose of the Dishkama Land Trust here that's leading the effort.
So my name is Michelle Vassal. I'm the Tribal Administrator for the Wiyot Tribe. I'm also the Director of the Dishkama Community Land Trust.
Yes, please. Is the clicker not working?
So the Dishkama Community Land Trust is a tribally controlled land trust. It's a component unit of the Wiyot tribe, and to our knowledge, it's the first tribally controlled land trust in the United States. We actually explored many different models for our work. And none of them seemed to fit except for the community land trust model. And we thought, okay, well, we're going to go reach out to some other tribes and see how they did it, and found that there wasn't any other models. So we had to create our own model. Dishkama in Salatluk means love. And the reason we called our land trust love is because we love Humboldt. We love this community. Wiyot people have lived in this area since time immemorial, and we care about the community. And so when we were talking about our land trust, we wanted to create something that said that like the straight out purpose is to care about our community. When we say love, we mean caring, we mean responsibility. When you love something, you take care of it. When something is messed up, a good example would be Tuluwat. The Wiyot people felt a responsibility to clean up the island. And, we're now 25 years in to the Tuluwat Ecocultural Restoration Plan. We started in 1999 by buying back a piece of land on Tuluwat Island, which at the time we purchased it was an environmental disaster. We knew full well going in that it was a disaster, that it had all this environmental cleanup work and it was going to cost money, but it wasn't a question of how much it cost. It was more a matter of responsibility for taking care of this place that was incredibly sacred to Wiyot people. And that's kind of the model around which this land trust is built, about healing ourselves, healing each other, working together in the community. Tuluwat really was about the community working together and healing. Tuluwat is a good example because it teaches us how we can change history, right? In 1860, the city of Eureka made worldwide headlines because there happened to be a reporter in Eureka at the time the massacre happened, and press around the world document or published the story about the massacre at Tuluwat and labeled Eureka as Murdersville. And years later, we end up seeing, with this relationship building and this trust building and this environmental work that was done on the island, you see this relationship and this healing process take place to flip the script. And in 2019, was it? I'm looking at someone here that was part of that action. Eureka makes history again. And, history happens every day. And that work that we did together made, again, nation or worldwide headlines. My brother, who's in the military, happened to be stationed in Korea and snapped a picture of us in a Korean newspaper. So we were literally making headlines around the world for this work that we did together. And that is the embodiment of this land trust. So we have these different areas that we work on. Our mission is land back to the Wiyot people. And all land that goes into the land trust is ultimately led by and cared for by Wiyot people. We also have we have basically two facets of our land trust. One is ecocultural restoration. So we have land that we're holding for environmental restoration work and cultural restoration work, which we see as necessary and interdependent on each other. And then the other piece is affordable housing creation. And this is really, what we're here to talk about tonight is that arm of Dishkama Humboldt. The projects that we've got going on currently in the affordable housing model is we actually purchased back a 9-unit apartment in Lolita. This had been used a lot by Wiyot people over the years. It was market rate housing that was in Lolita. And we bought it back with the intention of making it affordable elders housing and fixing it up so it is a nice place to live and is affordable for elders to live. Jurijiji, which in Salatlik means a place to stop and rest, youth housing project. That is turning two Victorians, old Victorians, very, very old Victorians, into modern housing that will be used for youth in our area who are very, who can be the most vulnerable in our area. Elders, we see like elders and young people as two of the most vulnerable groups. In being like vulnerable to the housing cost. If you're a young person and you're straight out of high school, you don't have a lot of skill set. You're not going to get the most the best paying job. So if housing costs are high and your income level is low, it's going to be hard to maintain housing. It makes you more vulnerable. And the same thing happens on the other end of the spectrum with our elders. Our elders are often on a fixed income, and as such, when housing rates go up, their income doesn't, and they become another vulnerable population. We studied housing in Humboldt County for 2 years prior to starting this work, and we looked at how we wanted to develop housing around what the community needs were. So those are two areas that we really saw is that there was these two vulnerable populations. Everybody is impacted by affordable housing in our area. We also know that Wiyot people are being displaced exponentially as a result. And just imagine that as an indigenous person to this area, your people have been here since time immemorial, and you can't afford to live here anymore. And so that's one of the things that we have prioritized is making sure that we can do something in this area, and that our affordable housing, because care and love is the first component, is that we're building things that people want to live in, that you want to live in, that I want to live in, that have components that people that live there need. So you'll see as we talk about these individual projects, how we've developed like childcare into family housing and elders care into elders housing. So we have program space for these programs that already operate in our community to do their work right in the middle of a building that serves the people that they are already qualified to be in that program. And where families live, there should be childcare. And there's a huge need That was like another area that we found in our studies is this huge need for childcare in our area. And so our hope is that we can build housing around people's needs and safely, that's, clean and looks nice and that people want to live in. And I'll go ahead and let the...
Thank you. Well said, Michelle. I'm going to stand because I'm a stander here. So who are we? We are Travoy. My name is Trent Rogers. I'm the director of housing development here at Travoy. So we are partnered with the Wiyot tribe here to help develop these two projects. With me today is Laura Heron, the architect of record on the two projects, and then Shabari Perico, who's a project manager on our housing development team. Let's see if this works. Perfect. So Travoy is an entity. We are not local. We are based out of Kansas City, Missouri, but this is our sole purpose and mission is to facilitate and work with indigenous communities across the United States on developing new or rehabilitating existing affordable housing projects in their communities. So this is all that we do on an everyday basis. So Travoy is formed in 1995 with this mission of working within tribal communities to make sure that they have access to affordable housing programs and the resources they need to provide housing to their community members. So we are a consultant, we are not a developer, but we are working with the tribe on accessing the low-income housing tax credit program as the primary funding source for these two programs, two projects, excuse me, and then also providing services as the architect. So we are pushing forward all of the architectural designs. We just printed a 25% set, getting ready for the design review here soon. Yes, we have prints from our most recent set over there. If anyone would like to flip through both of them, we'll present nice, pretty photos tonight as well. But if you guys want to see physical copies, we do have physical copies here in the room with us as well. So besides the development side and we have the architecture side, we also offer asset management services through our Travoy Asset Management Program. So we are a long-term partner with the tribe to make sure that we are remaining in compliance with the IRS under our federal funding guidelines, as well as any state gap financing tools as well. So we're really excited about the two projects. It's been definitely a lot of challenges with the two sites. Laura can probably speak more to that specifically, but we're really excited to work here in the community. And we have a lot of experience here in Northern California. So this is the most, I guess, geographically close project we've worked on. So this is with the Yurok Indian Housing Authority. We have 4 projects with Yurok now. The other 3 are on the reservation along the Klamath River and various spots there. But this is in Arcata, California. The Yurok Indian Housing Authority bought a parcel, sort of an infill site, I guess you could say, right, Laura? They used the additional dwelling unit rule to add additional units to the site that had already been zoned and approved for multifamily housing. So it has these are actually, I guess, what do you call them? Single family ADUs. There's actually a duplex. There's a side there where that gate is on the right for a home on the first floor, and then there's stairs going up. So it's actually a duplex, I guess you'd call it, Laura. Alongside these multifamily buildings, these 4 multifamily buildings in the center. So this is in Arcata with the Yurok Indian Housing Authority. But as I said, they have 4 total affordable housing projects that Travoy has been proud to partner with them on. Additionally, in the area, we've worked with the Tolowa Dene Nation in Smith River. They have an affordable housing project there. The Karuk Tribe, Hoopa Valley Housing Authority has a current elders project under construction that we're excited to go check out tomorrow. So we have a long history of working with the indigenous organizations here in the area, and really proud of all of them, but especially of these 2 future projects. I will turn it over to the city here to talk through, I guess, more of the timeline on the...
Yeah, I'm just briefly going to go over how we got here. So in April 2023, the city of Eureka released its second request for proposals for affordable housing on city-owned sites. Just to clarify, the first RFP that went out was in 2020, and that resulted in the Link Housing projects. If you guys are familiar with that, there's... that's coming in like 93 dwelling units, I believe, across 3 sites, parking lots at Sunny and Myrtle, 6th and M and 8th and G. So, and this RFP was also a part of a program from the city's 2019 through 2027 housing element. It's called Implementation Program H 34 affordable housing on city-owned properties. The program was created to help the city meet a state-mandated regional housing needs allocation, commonly called the RENA. And it was designed also to help alleviate the local housing crisis. So the goal of that program was to require developers to construct at least 332 deed-restricted affordable housing units on city-owned parcels by 2028. And we are very happy with the Wiyot housing project because they doubled, almost tripled maybe the required housing, the amount of housing that we were requiring in the RFP. So we're really grateful for the Wiyot tribe doing that. Then in July 2023, as you see here, June, the Wiyot tribe did submit their proposal. In July of 2023, the city council awarded the Wiyot tribe as the preferred proposer. Then in November 2023, the city and the tribe entered in a memorandum of understanding, which outlined items such as holding this community meeting and then requiring they go to design review. And then in March 2025, recently, the DDA was approved and executed. And then the next steps after this meeting is they will go to the design review committee for approval. It's just a standard review. And then hopefully the project will be completed in the end of 2027. So.
Thank you. So we'll hop into the specifics on the two projects now. So we'll go ahead and start with the Elders project, Laquille Hudak. That's my best attempt. This is the Elders project. Where the Elders are. Yes, thank you. These are 52 senior apartment units. This is the 6th and L site. It is slated for completion in December. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yeah, we're looking at it. I can see it right there. Thank you. Thank you. There'll be bedrooms facing this right here. Laura, don't correct me. There's 24 studio bedroom units, 21 bedrooms, 8 2-bedrooms, and then 1 community mini. And I'll let Laura kind of get into the specifics on the design. But I know we want to talk through just sort of square footage of the units and then anticipated rents, because I know those are probably both hot questions here. So on the studio units, we're looking at about 505 square feet. There's 2 variations of our 1-bedroom units here, so they range from 681 to 699 square feet. And then finally, our 2 bedrooms are 833 square feet. So one important note, I guess, to say for both of these 2 projects, I mentioned earlier that they're both going to be funded using the low-income housing tax credit program, and obviously under the RFP, they're looking for deed-restricted housing. So 100% of these units will all be restricted to families or individuals that earn 60% of the area median income and below. So the tax credit program that we're utilizing here requires that it's 60% and below, and that comes with both income limits and rent restrictions. So the reason for the range, I say all that to say, the reason for the range that you'll see on these studios 1s and 2s, and the same when we get to GUIC, is that we will have units set aside at 30%, 40%, 50%, and 60% of area median income per bedroom type. So for reference, 60% AMI for an individual is about $38,000 here in Humboldt County. So those rent limits, those income limits are updated every year by HUD, and they go by family size. So Wiyot Tribe and their intake folks and Travoy Asset Management, they'll review applications and evaluate, what's your family size, what's your family income, and sort of see where you slot into that 30, 40, 50, and 60 AMI ranges. And then associated rent will fall through that. So a 60% AMI would be representative of the right column there. So 780, 819, and 959 on the studio 1s and 2s. And then the lowest band of income, the 30% AMI folks, would be 316, 322, and 363. So these are our current anticipated rents, subject to change, but these represent the current 2025 income limits under the tax credit program. Laura, I will throw it over to you to talk through some of the amenities and some specific design pieces.
All right, so this is a first floor plan we have here. The city hall, we'd be in the corner right there above the floor area. Yeah, on the different floor. So this is our 5-story building with the first floor having amenities and having designated parking that is just for the city fleet. So there's 20 spaces for the city fleet there. There's bike parking. We're providing a a community room that can be used both for serving meals to elders or to community functions, as well as a community kitchen that can be used for prep by renters of the community, or just facilitating meals for the facility that can be closed off, so it can all be rented. There's a common laundry facility near the elevator that is for people who don't have their own units upstairs. All units will have provided hookups. Yes, that was part of the RFP. That was the requirement of the 20 spaces for City Hall. So we do have several bus lines and other things directly around the property that we're integrating in, as well as I think there's a Humboldt Elders bus. I kind of remember talking about senior bus. We've provided some social spaces, but the big, I guess the primary intent of this project was to facilitate bringing the elders together for community and social needs, and also, provide community and spaces for them to gather together, but also then have their own private residence. So you can be as private or as social as you want, which, we always want those sort of back and forth.
I was going to say too that with this community space, this can serve the whole community, and as one of the things we found in our communities, there's a lack of certified kitchens, and so we'll have that here, so that can be rented out, but it can also be used by any program that serves elders in our community. So we might serve elders, but also there's other programs that serve elders that would be able to use this space. So you could have the social lunch happening at lunchtime, and then yoga being provided by another elder service provider in our area.
One of the other notes was we wanted to incorporate as much, family members coming and being able to take elders to appointments or other kinds of social interaction. So we wanted to make sure it was easy access for people to come by and pick up people for appointments and that kind of thing. On the roof of the first floor, so the second floor, we have our community terrace, which will include circular pathways and native plantings and things. We're working through that right now, as well as you can start to see the unit mix throughout. Every floor has a lobby or a social area in the Elders Project, so people can get together and say hello, keep the social interaction going. These are some of the renderings. So we're inspired by the passion for the local Wiyot tribal design, with some of the split roof, the triptych split roof, and this circular entry. Our material palette will have inspiration from both fresh and weathered redwood, is sort of what we're going with, the orange tones and the gold or gray tones, with some paints of other things from the forest, and deep granites and those kinds of things on the ground floor with the concrete. So this is a sample of our garden terrace there on the roof, going through some various design updates on that at the moment, and then another rendering on the other part. We wanted to incorporate, one of Michelle's strong feelings was to incorporate some local artists' work, so we've included murals on both buildings.
I think this is a cool thing. This is the sort of common space. Okay, here. This is the common space off of each elevator, correct, Laura? So this glass area here is I don't know what you want to call that, a landing space, community space on every single floor. Nice, beautiful light.
Yeah. Correct. All right.
Thanks, Laura.
Yeah.
Okay, so then the second project we're talking about today is Guwick Hudak. So where the elders are is Laquil Hudak, Guwick Hudak, where the families are. This is our 41 apartment unit project on 5th and D. This is also slated for completion in 2027. So while the Laquil Hudak was focused on elders, now this is focused on families, and the amenities and the building itself is set up to do the same. So we have a nice range of units here, going from 1s, 2s, and 3s, and 4 bedroom units, as well as a almost 8,000 square foot childcare facility, over 8,000 square feet childcare facility on the first floor. So mostly 1s and 2s, 16 one bedrooms, 14 2 bedrooms, 6 3 bedrooms, and 5 4 bedroom units spread across the building. Really pretty, I would say, generous square footage on these units, Laura.
Yeah, something I should add is both buildings have been built to follow all the accessible requirements of California. The Elders building, I forgot to mention earlier, half of those units will be move-in accessibility ready per the requirements, and then every other unit will be required to be adaptable. So like we'll have blocking in every place for all the grab bars in the future. All of the space areas, including the laundry hookup, are designed in order to be able to access it from a wheelchair. So that's something in the design team. There's 4 of us in the architecture, Travoy architecture group that have been working on it, have been very intent on finding those exact specifications. So it's a love of mine to incorporate those spaces into it, because not only is it easier to get through the door in a wheelchair, but it's easier to get through if you're carrying a child carrier, or if you have your laundry basket, or if you're carrying groceries. So it helps everybody. So just note on that. So you can see that at the bottom of the page. In this case, so these are from our application to California. The 15% is the requirement. We're providing 17%, but again, all of them are adaptable.
Right.
The hearing vision is like a doorbell, fire strobe kind of thing. So it's not that much different than the rest of the unit.
Right, and they can be doubled up, right? You can have a mobility and hearing vision. Okay, and then on the rents here, it's very similar, right? So we have the same 30, 40, 50, and 60% AMI bands across. That 60% AMI limit is still going to be the max income for a family in this case. So ranging from 800 to 1100 across the bedroom types, and 300 to 400 on the lower 30% AMI units on the 1, 2, and 3s, 1, 2, 3, 4. Laura, I'll let you take it away.
So you can see in the bottom left sort of quadrant here, we have the playground and we have the childcare facility. So this is going through some design work with the, Carrie, what's the program she's with?
Changing Tides Family Services. I almost called it Humboldt Child Care Council, which is what it used to be.
Changing Tides.
Changing Tides, sorry. Thanks for the quick response. It's a quiz. Okay. So part of the Families Project is that you need to provide a playground or entertainment space basically for children between the ages of 2 and 13, and then 13 through 18? 17.
I don't know why it's not 18.
Who knows
17.
when a person's grown up? Anyway, so in this case, the playground facilities use both for the daycare and then as well as for residents. So it would be people who have their family members. You have children that can come and use that at whatever hours.
And Michelle, the intent would be that the tribe itself would be operating this daycare, both for residents of the project itself and then, community members.
And this is another component of Dishkama too, is that, like we see this, a lot of times when you're looking at like mixed use with housing and, a business, it's usually like retail business, but we see these as workforce development, so we can be developing up childcare workers, and we're creating space for them to work, and then we're also providing for a need that's missing in our community. So all of those things are combined.
I could go back.
Oh, yeah.
So you can see we have an increased bike parking zone area. We also have a social lobby, mails, parcels, and also an office, just like the other project has. There is, I think in this one, it shows 8. We have approximately 7 spaces now as we work in the PG&E transformer and all those other fun things about making a building function. So we have some limited parking here, but that is would be tenant use and could be assigned, or however is best determined by the functioning zone. We do have a loading and unloading zone that's near the daycare entry, and that's something, again, to facilitate the use of that zone of the space. Here we don't have a terrace, but we do have a courtyard that you can look down into with a sawtooth roof bringing light down into the childcare area. And then we have just the units mixed around above. Not super interesting. Up at the top, we do have a community room with a community terrace that faces sort of the southwest. It's kind of on an angle, but so you can get a little bit of the views here from that terrace, as well as maybe some out to the ocean.
And this is a 6-story building, whereas L'Aquila is a 5-story building. Just worth noting. There are 7 spaces that are part of this project. What's that now? The sites are different, I would say. I think that's an important note. So I don't know that we can put 20. Yeah.
I wanted to also mention a couple of little things like that, just, talk about the caring about the people that are going to live in the building is trying to think of their needs. So when you look at the bathrooms for the family units, you'll have we've put 2 sinks in the shared bathroom, so like when your kids are getting ready for school, somebody can be brushing their teeth while somebody's brushing their hair, and space, door space for the bathroom and shower, so somebody else could be taking a shower, and everybody can be getting ready in the morning, and nobody locked out of the bathroom.
Yeah, trying to get away from those fights I had with my brothers. I think that's what we're trying to get at. So we're incorporating more of those. I think this is, this design was printed at the beginning of March, and we're really in kind of the next, we feel like it's happening. So we're sort of trying to go all the way to get all the design figured out. This does have the community terrace and a little bit of a gathering, like heating kitchens. It could be used for potlucks. This area would be available for the the older children, because you wouldn't say elder, right? The older children, so that there could be, we talked even about like video game nights or movie nights up here. We can have a presentation wall where somebody could have community meetings and talk about things. So that's it's a little bit different than the floors below, but I think we feel like there's going to be a lot of potential for activities and views on this area.
For sure. And the tax credit program, again, the program we're using to help fund the project, they're going to look for outside services, or at least not necessarily outside, but services that are going to be provided to the tenants of the families of the projects. That's both elders and families. And the Wiyot tribe is anticipating to provide all those services to the site. So we need to have all of both private and semi-private spaces, which we're accommodating. Was there a question, sir?
Could he speak into the microphone?
Or just repeat his question. That's
Okay.
fine.
I did not hear your question. Oh, this is...
The question is, what is the location?
Thank you. This is 5th and D.
So
Thank
I
you,
think
sir.
was it the Lloyd building? That was the really tall building was taken down. So there's an empty parking lot next to it at the moment.
The question
The
is
question is... Go ahead.
whether the empty lot next to it is public or private.
It is
It is a private lot currently.
Yeah, it's
The
private.
adjacent lot is a private lot. I am not aware of who owns that.
I think that's public record. I'm not sure.
Laura, would you like to continue?
Sure. So we have some of the similar design elements here. You can see the triple roof element and the circular entry. Both buildings are focusing on trying to get light and warmth into the courtyard and into the more units. So we've got the court kind of in a similar situation as the other one. This building also incorporates the mural system mural areas, as well as materials reflecting the various like aging of redwood and forest tones. Here you can see the partially covered community playground area, and then also our roof terrace. Yeah, so one of the things that we wanted to incorporate in this building, it's really hard to get light on the first floor. Because we have a situation where we have only, one floor, we're able to put in a sawtooth roof. So we're going to get indirect light from the north that we're going to focus into classrooms. So we've flipped up the design a little bit. Since this was printed, we had some of the infant items there. Now we have the older kids who are in childcare in these spaces so that the classrooms can have daylight.
There's your sawtooth.
Yeah, the sawtooth is there, so you can see the playground. And then we also we're working on designs for incorporating some vining down the elevation to create different seasonal interest, as well as other things that support the land trust initiatives. And up in the area there.
There's your top floor patio exterior.
Yeah.
That was all that we had of a formal presentation. So we can open it up if there are any questions, and happy to answer any questions that there might be. We can pass the microphones around if you
And
need.
if people have questions on Zoom, just raise your hand on Zoom and we can.
I had a question about elevators, like an elevator access. Like how will that be in each of the project? How will that be laid out? Like
Sure. So both elevators. There's one elevator in each building, centrally located near the lobby space. It is a It's an Otis 3,500 pound, but you guys probably don't care about that. It is the size that can hold like a stretcher for emergencies. It's something that's really important to a lot of cities and something I think we should support. And so we've decided that, yeah, taking furniture, I don't know how big your couches are, but like they're, that's what that's for. Yeah. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Both more specific than you wanted and less, probably. Thank you.
Yeah, hi there. Regarding the loading zone right here on the front, that's going to be on Highway 101. Is that correct?
So that is a parking strip at the moment. So it is not a travel zone, but it is on 101.
Okay, I understand that. Is it going to be, because you have it labeled on the plans as loading, unloading zone, and I think you mentioned earlier that's for like loading children. Is that correct? Mm-hmm. So you're planning to have drop-offs on Highway 101?
There's some discussions with the city planning we've been talking about in both of the projects that there may be some curb items or ballers or some other kinds of things. We're working through it. We understand that it's maybe not the most ideal situation, but at the same time, where is the ideal situation? So we're sort of limited.
Let me preface by saying I'm a supporter of the project, but I have a lot of concerns. I'm going to be your closest neighbor. I'm North Coast Audio. I'm right on the other side of your plans there. And also a father of a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old. So that was one of the things that just jumped out at me. Like, I don't know if that's such a good idea. Is it possible to have that loading zone on D Street, one for protection of people and kids and elders and everything? Mm-hmm. And not only that, I am concerned as a business owner who relies on every single bit of parking we get. I mean, I'm not gonna lie, parking's a big issue, and I'm scared to death about what this project is going to do to my business. Again, I'm a supporter. We need housing in this town, but I don't feel like there's been anything to address businesses in this plan, and nothing I've seen. It's a beautiful building, by the way. Good job. Oh God, yes, thank you. It is. Yeah. A dirt lot is a big improvement. Yeah. So I'm looking forward to this. And the other questions related to that, if it's okay, the impact of building. I'm concerned about the construction. There's going to be anything to mitigate the impact on my family business. I'm not a big giant business. I'm a very small business. In fact, listening to your numbers, I qualify to live here. Okay, so I like that part. I'm thinking you might have that might help me a lot, honestly. So that is a legitimate question for my business and for the kids. Can we move that? I can't show you but so there is one of the things that we were working on in the so again, this was printed at the beginning of March. We've been forging ahead, on all of it. The entry to the child care center has been moved to go through the gate into the playground, so it is a little bit plan right, I guess you would have seen, so a little bit closer to the corner here. So I think that there is a possibility that there would be a closer entry that we could look at seeing what the parking situation is as we work with the planning commission to determine the things. I know that the contractor is already worried about, we can't close down 101. Like, we know that there's lots of stuff going on. I should say that there is a local contractor that's on board that's already been replied to the RFQ. Yeah. Is it a Q? Okay. Can you mention the name of that contractor?
I think so. Yeah, it's Pacific Builders out of Arcata. We've had a long relationship with them on working on most of these other projects that you've seen, and they're integral into it, as well as we've got PG&E on it already, as well as SHN is the civil contract or civil engineer. They're also doing all of the surveying and the geotech.
You are aware that this is, after Broadway, the highest traffic count in the city at this location, correct?
It's 101. So
yeah, okay. As long as we're on board with that, that's
yeah. I'm not local, but I do come here every month, at least for 3 or 4 days, and spend time on the 101 myself. So I get it. It's been years that I've been doing this. So it's a complicated site. You people who live nearby, know how complicated it is. And now that I've seen all of the PG&E maps and talked with all of those consultants, I know how more complicated it is too. So your concerns are. We've heard them, and we'll see how we can incorporate some of your thoughts.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll take one more in the audience and then we'll switch over to Zoom and then we'll come back to the audience.
With regard to parking, presently Fifth Street has a 2-hour parking limit in that area. Is that going to be maintained?
I can't speak to the parking. I don't know. Caitlin, do you have about city parking?
When the project is submitted for design review approval, we'll do a referral to Caltrans. And actually there's an opportunity to do what's called a pre-development review that we'll also do and invite Caltrans. So Caltrans will be involved in reviewing this project.
And also, yeah,
It's Caltrans. It's their right of way. Yes.
but I think we set the city, we set the time limits, and yeah, we'll
Coordinate with
we'll
them.
continue to evaluate time limits and whether they need to be adjusted based on changing uses.
Another question, ongoing management. Will there be full-time ongoing management on site?
Yes, they'll be full-time. Each site actually has an office, and they'll be both, just like office staff on site to handle anything that happens, and also a maintenance person to be on site for anything that needs to be taken care of.
Great, thank you. We're just going to take a couple questions on Zoom, and then we can come back to the audience. We're going to go back and forth.
Yeah. So do you want to call the first person? Who's the first person on Zoom to?
That's Melody Myers. Okay, so. Okay, I think they've been unmuted. Are you there, Melody?
Hi. Yes,
We can hear you.
thank you. Thank you for the presentation. It looks really great. I had a question about a couple questions. One is how many bathrooms for the 2 and 3 bedroom units in the family housing?
The 3 bedrooms definitely have 2 bathrooms. The 2 bedroom has 1, and the 3 bedroom has every 3 bedroom has 2, 2 full bathrooms.
Great, thank you. And sorry, I think I misspoke. I think there was like a 5 bedroom one. How many bathrooms is that one?
We only go up to 4 bedrooms, and it has a 2 full bathroom, but it's going to have the situation where we have like dual sinks in the shared bathroom.
Great, thank you.
Mhm.
And then for the elder housing, there's a planning to be 20 spots for city staff. Do you know if they currently use that lot for parking? And if so, how many spots are currently there?
Can you hear me? It looks like, yes, we do. We use it for fleet vehicles. Half of it's for city fleet vehicles, and then half of it is for city employees. And there is 54 parking spaces right now. So I believe the intention is all 20 spaces are going to be for fleet vehicles, not just for employees.
Do you want to ask the next person if they have questions?
Yeah. So moving on, I'll unmute Tim. Okay.
Yes, I have a quick question. The 6th and L Street, what's the height limit there? My understanding it's about 100 feet. Is that correct? And was that building 6 stories also?
Correct. The 6th Street site is in the downtown zoning district, which has a height limit of 100 feet.
Okay. And what does the 5th and D Street height limit?
It's also 100 feet.
Okay. Well, that's all my questions. Thank you.
And I actually should clarify, I was looking at the markers on the parking spaces, and there's actually 25, about maybe a little more in this parking lot. I was accounting for the old City Hall lot that is no longer being used. That's on the other side of City Hall.
I'll add to the question about height. So the building that's near City Hall, it's a 5-story building for elders. The building that's for families, that's further west, is a 6-story building. But both are, I think we had to find the heights because the contractor was asking about a construction elevator, and they're both, I think, under 80 feet.
Okay.
What, if you don't mind me asking, what was that again? What are both 80 feet?
The overall height of the buildings is not near 100 feet. It's lower than that. It's around 80, I think.
But you say so it's the same zoning at 5th and D that it is up at 6th and L?
Correct.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Jessica, are you are you ready to speak? Okay.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate the opportunity to provide some input and ask questions. I was also a little bit confused about the zoning and the height requirements for 5th and D versus 6th and L. I'd heard that 5th and D was restricted to 80 feet and the 6th and L was 100. No, okay. But there was also something else that I did want to mention, and I'm not sure if Travoy, I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that correctly, the consulting firm, if they're aware about it, but there is a proposed property swap offer on the table. I definitely thought there were more benefits because you could build taller, but this lot is on 5th and K, so it still has the benefit of being in direct proximity of the 6th and L location. So that right there allows for, reduced construction costs, easier management by the tribe, potentially even like one on-site manager for both buildings. So I just kind of wanted to see if that was something that everyone was aware of and if that was something that was being considered.
Travoy is the consultant. We're here to work on the 5th and D and 6th and L site, so we are not considering a property swap on the Travoy side. So I will defer to the Wiyot tribe in a future comment.
Yeah, the Wiyot tribe has been reached out to about a potential property swap, but we have not taken up that offer. We originally designed proposals for these two sites, and then a property swap already happened that landed us at 5th and D. And we've spent a considerable amount of time developing two different sites. And so, going back and redesigning everything is a huge cost and concern.
Is it okay to ask one more question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, so that does make sense. I could see why delays would be, inconvenient. And I've looked at your designs, and they look amazing. They're really well done. But I do hear, these small business owners and these other folks talking about, their concerns about, parking for their businesses, for their customers, for their employees. So even if you took that same design and moved it to the other lot, that other lot's not being used for public parking, so it wouldn't cause any, kind of impact on the community. It just seems like, while a delay could be inconvenient, that it could lead to a better long-term outcome for our community, and that just really seems worth considering. So I appreciate you letting me give my input.
Thank you. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you. Should we do a couple in the audience now? Let's switch back to the audience. Because you have your hand up over here.
Hi, I'm a community member. My name is Jack. This is more of like a comment and kind of question. I was hoping you could explain, maybe the Michelle and also Travoy could explain how mostly the family housing might be helpful to make a less car-centric community, especially in Old Town, and how it could help local businesses and people that live there.
Well, imagine that you work at any one of the businesses in Old Town, and you now have a daycare that's close by your work, and you can, drop off your kid on your way to work, or even better, live in the building, drop off your kid on the way to work, then walk to work, walk to the grocery store because the North Coast Co-op is right next door. I think having more people in the neighborhood helps with public safety, and creating a walking riding culture. A lot of young people I've noticed aren't driving as much, and if you had the ability to have everything within close quarters, you wouldn't need to drive as much.
And also, sorry, back to the previous question, the other lot is in downtown West that does have an 80-foot height limit. That's why people are asking that question. Whereas here is 100 feet. But both projects will, because they're affordable, there's a state law called state density bonus law, which will allow them to go higher than what is allowed by our code, regardless, even though it sounds like they aren't proposing higher than 80 feet.
Also, there is a privately owned property that's right next door. The tribe actually looked into purchasing that property. The Lloyd building was demolished, and we knew that the county would likely be putting it up at some point, and reached out about it, but it was purchased by somebody else, and hopefully maybe they make a parking structure there.
Hawalaritnak, Elizabeth Houghton. Hi, everyone. My name's Elizabeth Houghton. I'm an enrolled Wiyot tribal member as well as a resident of Eureka. I kind of just wanted to make a comment about the car-centric, community that we have right now. I moved to Eureka 10 years ago as an 18-year-old, fresh out of high school, no license, no car. I lived on West Cedar and California Street and had to walk everywhere. I relied on the public transportation, and to have housing right next to the co-op, right next to United Indian Health Services, right next to local businesses and restaurants, that would have made a huge difference. I don't know if you guys have ever had to walk from this end of town to the other. It's a long walk. And so seeing this building designed around our families and our community's needs, I think it's not only going to help grow the Wiyot community and the city of Eureka, but it's going to provide opportunity for every single local business to grow their clientele, and to just make Old Town a more family-centered community rather than a business community.
Hi, hello, my name is Juliana. I just have a tiny clarification question. I know these housings are mainly for Wiyot tribes, but you guys also mentioned how the community can use a lot of the spaces. Is it just Wiyot community or the entirety community as well?
So thank you for asking that question, because what our intention is, what our priority, so in each site there's certain priorities that when there's a waiting list, people go to the top of the list if they meet the priorities. So Wiyot tribal members are listed first, right? But any available units that are available after those folks are served is anybody in the community. So the second criteria for the elders program would be you have to be over 55. For the family site, it would mostly be your income level, and anybody can use. So with the elders community services, the intention is for all elders. Basically, we're creating program space and community certified kitchen space. So when the elders program isn't using the kitchen, it can be rented out. There's a lot of businesses in our community that need commercial kitchen space. And so imagine a program that's trying to do a business that cans goods and services, which then they market locally. They need a commercial kitchen space in order to do that work, so they could rent out the place. Also, imagine if you lived in the building, you could just come down and have lunch, but also your friends could take the senior bus and have a social lunch with you, and then do yoga afterwards, or play board games or something. Whatever programs are being offered in that service would be offered to the whole community.
Great, thank you. We're going to go online now and get some questions.
Okay, Lyndon, are you ready?
Hi, I'm here. How's it going tonight? I'm a small business owner downtown, and like other businesses in the area, I heavily rely on the 6th and L parking for my patrons. You say that you're going to have the kitchens open and serve the community, etc., but where are these people going to park? There's literally been no parking for all this time. We've been fighting for parking for years, and now that's going to be removed. And it looks like the 6th and L, what you were saying is that the city employees will have the ground floor of the structure will accommodate 20 dedicated city vehicle parking spaces in a separate garage accessed by the alley. But why are we pushing away the people that shop down there, the people that actually work down there. It seems kind of tone deaf to say, hey, we know there's a parking issue. We've already gone over that, but we're going to ignore that and put up. What is the plan for that? Like, is there a way that the parking on the ground level could be increased to accommodate more parking spaces and be open for the public use? Because I don't understand where, like, the 6th and L, if you're going to have elderly people, are these people going to be like assessed if they have cars, and then if they have a car they're not going to be living there because there's no parking for them? Or is it just going to be madness down in the city on 7th and 6th where we're all looking for a place to park in front of people's houses?
I can step in and address this a little bit. I'm Kristen Kenyon. I'm the Director of Development Services here at the City of Eureka. We currently have no issue at City Hall finding parking within 2 blocks of City Hall. We do, we've looked at parking utilization. We have a lot of underutilized parking. There are certain areas like around the courthouse where there's high utilization, but then there's spots within a few blocks of there that have empty spaces. So we've realized that we have more of a parking management issue than a parking supply issue in downtown and Old Town, and we have a multitude of strategies that we're working on to address that. For instance, we've now striped a lot of the street parking so that people park more efficiently, and we've hired a parking enforcement officer. We're working on the parking timings and parking metering and parking permitting for employees and residents to utilize the parking lots. We're also looking into a shuttle. HTA applied for a grant for that to move people around the area to get from the further out parking lots to businesses in the more core area, because some of our further out parking lots are so poorly utilized that they're actually there's unsanctioned use there that are making them unsafe, that we need them to be better utilized. And also we are looking at the feasibility of a parking structure as well. So those are a few of the things that come off the top of my head at first, but we're definitely working on parking management to better utilize and optimize supply, which is really not being well optimized right now.
I think I'm confused about that, though, because you're saying that the city isn't using their parking spots. It's because you guys have been moving over to the 6th and L location and filling up an already full parking lot. And when the case study went out, you guys said that lot was only at 10% usage, but forgot to tell the city or the city residents that the only reason that that's at 10% is because it was closed during COVID, during the height of COVID. So it's not underutilized, it's overutilized. And that's where it's confusing, because now that we're still overutilized, the city has moved their cars to that public parking lot, making it so that customers have to look for street parking that shouldn't have to. So it seems very tone deaf to say, oh, we're not using all of our parking spots. But if you're a business downtown, you can tell every council member or people on this program that those are used, they're overused. My next question, though, is with the school district, have they found a school district that fits in that area? And what's the transportation for kids? I have children that ride the bus, and it took us almost 3 years to get a bus to come pick my children up from a mile away from the closest school in our district. I don't even know what the district would be down there, but if they can't get school buses for the kids that are already in school, what are they planning on doing, and where would they be shipping those kids to?
So the school district and the city are separate entities. The school districts, unfortunately in California, the school districts aren't needing to think about where they're locating schools and whether they're locating them near jobs and services. So unfortunately in California, a lot of times schools are not located where all of our jobs and services are located. And so I've heard the argument that, like, oh, this isn't near schools, but if you locate things near schools, then they aren't necessarily located near jobs and services. So there's not an ideal location where you get all things in one spot, unfortunately, in Eureka, because the schools aren't as centrally located. But we are working on bike and ped access throughout the city. Like we just put in the bike lanes on H&I. We would like to extend those down to the waterfront trail. We want to connect the waterfront trail to the Beta Zoo Trail as well. So we're trying to find ways to add separated bike and pedestrian paths throughout the city. We also have Humboldt Transit Authority is doing a great job capacity building, getting grants and funding for improved bus access. In addition to trying to get to 15-minute headway on their fixed routes, they're also putting in microtransit, which will be a bus stop to bus stop service that you can call and get to where you need to go. So we're definitely attacking it on all fronts to improve accessibility. Honestly, like in rural Humboldt County, if you're in Eureka, you're closer to schools, jobs, and services than most everybody else in Humboldt County.
I'm so sorry. I don't think you answered my question at all. It was
Sorry, go ahead. Ask it again. What did I miss?
What school district will this
Oh.
that building be going to? And then what are the plans to get the kids to that school? Because I think what I heard is you don't know, but then you told me a whole bunch of information. I'm not trying to sound rude, but you said a bunch of information that kind of didn't have anything pertaining to anything about that.
I believe it's the Eureka Schools District. And maybe, Michelle, is there a plan for shuttles for children in the family project to shuttle them to school?
So this is these are the things that we're working with now. I mean, like we're talking to the post office, we're talking to the school districts, we're talking to the local folks that like we need to coordinate with for things like this. So there's not an exact. I mean, we're at 25% of our plans right now, and those are being changed, until they're finalized based on feedback we get from meetings like this and interactions we have with other entities that we're coordinating with. So in that case, it would be the local school district and figuring out bus transportation for kids from our area. Okay. But, I want to ask somebody in the audience who lives on the reservation what time their kids get on the bus and what time they get home.
Thank you. My name is Brian Mead, but I'll answer that question second, but I have another answer to the parking. My son works down in Old Town, and he parks in Jack's Seafood, on the gravel lot. That's about 3 acres of parking right there. How come they're not utilizing that in Old Town for customers? I mean, that's a lot of parking, So, but to the second question, high school, my son goes to Fortuna High, and he has to catch the bus 6:40 in the morning, and he has to ride the bus all the way out to Highway 36 and then come back to Fortuna High. He's almost on the bus for almost an hour or so. And yes, and my kid, younger ones catch the bus in Lolita, so they
didn't answer it, so they cut me off, I think.
You're still unmuted. We can hear you. Somebody is answering a question right now.
But my two little ones, they got to ride the bus for an hour in the morning, and they got to ride at the end of transportation. Yes. Thank you.
Okay, well, I guess the short answer is we don't know, but I think that's something that should be really added into it. I understand, like, my children have to get up at 6 to the bus at 6:50 to go to school at 8 o'clock, and we live in the city limits. But it seems like if we're building something that's specifically for families, one of the first answers I would think from all of you would be, this is where the kids will go to school, because there's no school near there. But the way that the person that from the city said, well, there's no perfect place. You either live near a school, or you live near a business. That's not really true, because the schools are all set up along, like, basically kind of on the same part of town where it's all residential, so families can get to those schools. You're putting a building that's supposed to be for families, and you guys haven't really decided where they're going to go to school. That just seems... very unplanned. You guys are very determined to be in certain spots, but you haven't figured out kind of main things for like families, elderly. We're going to have parking, no parking for the elderly, but the city will have parking. So I guess I'd like to hear that at the next meeting, some sort of distinct answer to where these kids are going to go to school, what the school district, because all of it's Eureka City schools. We're in the Eureka
Lyndon, you make a good point, but the question on the buses, you should direct to the transportation director of Eureka City Schools.
Okay,
That's
but
the
I
person.
need the first answer, which was where's the school going to be? What school
It's going to be either Alice Burney or it's going to be Grant. I mean, right now, I watch the buses go by my building, and they go straight up C Street, and they take the kids to school. They do pick up kids in Old Town. As long as they're not picking them up on 5th Street, I don't think you're going to be a problem. But that goes back to what I was saying about the loading zone. So, D Street, please.
I wish that people from the thing knew the answer to that. So I guess that's all I have to say. But I just, it's nice that he knows it from the audience, but it seems like something that the people that are setting all these plans up should know.
Great. Thank you very much for your comments and questions.
I think we have one more person on Zoom.
Just a follow up to that. Sorry. Do you have any intention? Can you address some of that by talking to Eureka City Schools? Yeah. Awesome. Cool.
Sorry, I'll reply on speaker. That's the things that we're doing right now. So we're only at 25% of the plans right now. We're having this community meeting, and one of the things we're doing is listening to our community. So like we hear you about 5th Street, right? That's an easy thing that we can work on before the next plan development, and we don't have any control of the school districts. We don't have any control of where kids go to school or where they build schools in Eureka. We also don't have any, there's things that we don't have control of, like the postal service, right? We have to coordinate with the postal service. We have to coordinate with the city. We have to coordinate the fire department. There's all these other entities that are in our area that that we have to coordinate with, and we're doing that work right now, including the school district, including the post office, including PG&E, because they all have things that they need to do and follow.
Yeah, everybody has their own rules. So we're at 25%, but we started this whole design process probably last fall. So we're just the beginning, and then the goal would be for us to have nearly complete construction sets by the following fall. So this is like a 365-day situation of, the two people who are working with me, Kyle and Connor, are sitting at their desks. They're trying to follow all the questions. I'm circulating 300 emails a week or something about it. So we are on it. We want it to be a good project. We want to support the community. We want to support the intent of the land trust. We want to make everyone happy. So we're working as the best we can within the parameters that we've been given.
Okay, so we have one more question on Zoom from Suzanne Sarley. Are you ready, Suzanne?
I am, thank you. Hi, Dr. Suzanne Sarley here in Eureka, founder of nonprofit Pathways of Purpose. I don't have any questions. I just have a comment about, I'm grateful to see a tribally and native-led community land trust model popping up in our community. Very supportive of this work. Our organization is Native, Black, and women founded, and the community land trust model is an important model in U.S. history because the Black community innovated the community land trust models in the civil rights movement to create affordable housing, cooperative economics, and safety for the communities, as well as food sovereignty, and those important things. So the community land trust model, to see the Wiyot tribe innovate this model for a community is really a blessing and a shining light on our community. And I just want to thank the tribe for going to these measures to benefit their tribal members and the community at large. And I want to remind the larger community showing up here to voice our concerns and our questions, that we, as we show up to be allies to our tribal community members, that we want to remind ourselves to be, aware of our tone as our Native community members exercise their sovereignty rights over their own lands. It's important that we be aware of that. And I just want to say that we should respect our tribal leaders as they're doing this important work in our community. And that's it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Suzanne.
Thank you. Okay, we'll go back to the audience, and if there's anyone on Zoom, you can put your hand up and we'll get back to you. But I did see a hand already back here, and then I'll go up there.
A few of the things got covered already, but I was just curious, the land swap thing about 5th and K, I guess it would be for the other site. As you said, you're already further in plans, but maybe perhaps that landowner might be able to donate that site. Would the Wiyot tribe be willing to accept a donation of that property and develop
sure.
that more? All right. Thank you.
Watlow, my name is David Cobb. I want to say transparently and for full disclosure, I am a former employee of the Wiyot tribe and of the Dishkama Community Land Trust, but I am no longer. I'm a community member. And so I actually have a question, having learned a little bit about LIHTC, low-income housing tax credits, and how most affordable housing gets financed. I was shocked to learn that usually affordable housing, with all the public benefits and tax credits that they get, our tax dollars, at the end of 55 years, that affordable housing goes to fair market rate, and developers tend to make a whole bunch of money. And so I have a question to the Wiyot tribe about if there is an expectation at some point to sell this for a profit, or is this designed to be affordable in perpetuity by the tribe?
So when our council approved these, you can't deed it for in perpetuity, but when my council approved it, they approved it for in perpetuity. And the intent is to make it affordable forever and to keep it. So a lot of times what happens with properties is that, they're not cared for, right? That's what you see in our community. You see good projects and then you see not so great projects. And that's the difference. And so that's why we put love in our model. And that's literally our name, is that we care about it. And so we're going to take care of it. We're going to look after it. We're going to make it hopefully a place where people can live affordably for as
time immemorial.
Exactly. And we are looking at some other models of, that like when our 55 years comes up, like if there can be ownership of the building by the tenants, so that they take control of their own building, and we'll explore that more in 55 years, but we're looking at that kind of a model using the community land trust model to try to help people. If you own a home, that's like an investment, and renters are really awash at sea at whatever the market is, right? So tomorrow, we just saw that in our region recently, where like a property owner decided to really increase the rates of housing overnight. And when you own your home, you don't have to worry about that. You have a fixed rate mortgage. It costs it's going to be $1,000 a month, and that's what it's going to be. When you're a renter, it could change at any time. And so we want to give the residents some control over that. When we finish our 55 rate, we want to give them a little way to have equity in their property.
Hi, my name's Travis. I'm the chair of the North Coast Progressive Alliance, and I have also been really privileged to have tabled with Dishkama in the past. So I'm a big supporter of this project. I'm curious if you can answer a couple quick questions regarding rent. So number one is, are any utilities expected to be included in the rent, or is that separate?
Yeah, so we'll use what's called a utility allowance. So we will, there's a tax credit maximum rent. I don't have the table up, but there's a tax credit maximum rent. We'll evaluate what utilities are paid by the tenants and what utilities are paid for by the property owner. So in this case, we're changing to all electric on this. Water, sewer, trash will all be paid, part of the rent basically, and the rest of the utilities will be paid for by the tenants themselves.
Awesome. And my other question is, the money collected from rent, where would that exactly be going? Would it be just to upkeep these buildings, or are there other avenues that they would be allocated at?
Yeah, the gross income of the property is to operate the property, almost break even only at this point.
Awesome. Thank you.
As a nonprofit, that's like where we're different, right? That we're just trying to reinvest in, like we want to be zero at the end of the year. You know, you reinvest what you earn.
Thanks so much.
Anyone else?
Hi. My understand, is this only for the Wiyot tribe?
No. So the so in priority housing, there will be certain things that prioritize you for housing. We will be giving tribal preference to our tribal citizens, but after our tribal citizens are served, anybody else on the waiting list it's open to anybody, and the services provided in the building are open to anybody who qualifies for those services. So.
Okay, my other question is like the veterans building that was built on 4th Street was for the veterans, but half of it is for homeless people that were put in there. Are you going to be required to take on some of the homeless people in these housing also?
So the type of funding this is based on income, right? And we have varying income levels in these units. It's not based that one of the prioritization factors is not homelessness or risk of homelessness.
Well, I'm just looking
income
at
and for the elders program, it's age and
okay, but I'm looking at, you have people that are old that are on the streets, and it seems to me that either the city or the state is paying for some of this home for them to live in. So I'm wondering if the city is requiring you to have some of those kind of housing units in the same 2 places that you have.
No, the short answer is no, and then to also state the state and they're not paying for this project. So this is through federal low-income housing tax credits, which are IRS credits that are allocated to every state on a per capita basis. There's a state
federal
agency
government's paying.
Well, it's through a public-private partnership, right? Through tax credits. So it's not a direct investment into these projects. So fundamentally, what will happen is when they are awarded credits, we will take it out to the public market. There are major syndicators, investment organizations that facilitate the sale of these tax credits. The tribe will sell the credits to an outside investor, RBC, Raymond James, Hunt Capital Partners, many of these organizations. So the Wiyot tribe does not have a federal tax liability, right? In the same way that Google, US Bank, these major institutions do. And so the way that the program works is that it incentivizes investment into these deals by private corporations. And so the tribe will sell their tax credits, receive the benefit of the equity to fund construction. So the state is not putting dollars into this project thus far. There's no federal direct investment other than the issuance of federal tax credits. The state is allocated $125 million in federal tax credits every year. So that goes across the country, both rural and urban environments.
Thank you.
I was just wondering, like, I know that these projects are for like families and like the elderly, which is obviously so important, but I was just wondering if like there were any plans for like sometime in the far future, I'm assuming, to like I don't know, make more of these for less specific demographics.
Yeah, the name is really a TCAC. So that's the TCAC is the Tax Credit Allocation Committee. They make you prioritize. They sort of pick the bucket you're going to apply under. Large family is the family. That's their designation. So we have to meet all the requirements of bedroom size, but there's no legal requirement. There's no an individual. I mean, you could absolutely come and apply for a 1-bedroom unit in the large family. It's sort of the nomenclature that the state uses. 3 and 4 bedrooms. Number of. What'd you say?
It's just requiring a percentage of 3 and 4 bedrooms, so that you're not building like all studios, but you're saying the families are going to live there. So it's just the way they do the ratios.
And we are building 39 units for youth housing, which is really for the age group of like college students or coming of age, like very young people that are just getting into the housing market that that are at risk right now. It's hard to get in and find affordable housing, so we're creating housing for that group too.
Anyone else? Anyone on Zoom? Okay. Well, do you guys want to have any closing remarks?
I'll just say thank you again. We appreciate not being local necessarily, but spending a lot of time in the region. We just really greatly appreciate the opportunity for you guys that are in the room that showed up and made your public comments known, and those of you on Zoom. So we really appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Yeah, and don't be afraid to reach out as we develop this. We'll be reaching out to people in the community, and that you will come to events like this as we go along with our plans.
Yeah, if we got your email.
Yep, your email. Yep. If you didn't sign in and you want to stay in contact, you can sign in and leave your email. And then, like, for example, when the project goes for design review, you can be on the mailing list and we can send you the public hearing notice, as well as any future meetings that happen.